You have. The less you express your own life, the greater is your alienated life. The greater is the store of your estranged being. Close quote. By this account, capitalism turns all men into Ebenezer Scrooges. The more men work, accumulate, and save, the less they are. At the heart, then, of Marx's critique of capitalism is his moral revulsion at the thought that someone, somewhere, might be trying to actually improve the material quality of his life by working and saving. The very idea of having, that is, of acquiring and accumulating material goods beyond a certain level, is anathema for Marx to man's true being. It enslaves man to things. A fully human life is not concerned with acquisition and accumulation, which have the ultimate effect, according to Marx, of shriveling man's soul. This is precisely why money is the embodiment, if not the root, of all evil for Marx. Money is the physical embodiment of self-interest, and it turns everything into a commodity to be bought and sold. It permits, indeed, it inspires men to accumulate just for the sake of accumulation. Money, particularly money created in a capitalist economy, Marx claims, replaces true virtue, authenticity, and genuine human relationships with avarice. Now, what Marx does not understand is that one must actually work and save in order to have and in order to live a materially and spiritually satisfying life. Marx envisions a world where men are able to eat, drink, read, love, theorize, sing, paint, fence, go to the theater, the dance hall, and the pub free of charge, and without actually having to earn a living by working and saving. That is, Marx wants to live in the world of the Big Rock Candy Mountain, where chickens lay boiled eggs, or in a society where every man has his own personal Friedrich Engels, as Marx himself did. That is, a sugar daddy, to personally bankroll one's profligate lifestyle, but without the guilt associated with being a moocher. By way of contrast, let's consider now how Marx envisioned non-alienated man in a communist society. In a stunning flight of fancy, Marx claimed that communism would actually liberate human creativity and each man's individuality. To that end, he advocated abolishing the division of labor, which froze men, he argued, into stultifying jobs that contracted and infantilized their physical and spiritual potential. Life for man in a communist society where there is no division of labor would look something like this, according to Marx. Quote, in a communist society where nobody has one exclusive sphere of activity, but each can become accomplished in any branch he wishes, society regulates the general production and thus makes it possible for me to do one thing today and another tomorrow. To hunt in the morning, fish in the afternoon, rear cattle in the evening, criticize after dinner, just as I have a mind, without ever becoming a hunter, fisherman, herdsman, or critic. Close quote. In Marx's ideal society, the nomenclatura regulates all production, which liberates the workers to choose whatever job they have a mind to pursue at any given time in the day or week. Now, consider what Marx is really saying here. Communist society will be organized something like a Montessori for adults, where individuals go from government workstation to government workstation just as the urge propels them. Marx lived in a philosophical fantasy land, where each man's wishes are omnipotent, where the law of cause and effect is suspended, and where the unearned is demanded and received. For instance, if a man with no ability, no work ethic, and no resources wants to become a concert pianist, his freedom and autonomy have been denied, according to Marx, if he is not given the means to become or to pretend to be a concert pianist. Ultimately, then, Marxism represents a revolt against reality and objectivity. Let's turn now to the second verse from the Holy Book of Marx. From each according to his ability, to each according to his need. And then to Marx's argument for communism. In order to overcome the debilitating sense of alienation that defines modern life, Marx argues that man must reconstruct his world and begin de novo. He must be stripped of his false consciousness, and his core being must be built from the ground up. Marx believed that by altering man's economic and political institutions, socialist society could literally change human consciousness as well. The ultimate psychological and moral goals of these new economic relations are first, if you can believe it, to liberate human individuality and creativity by giving men the chance to explore and experience all of their multifaceted desires. And second, to reintegrate individual men into a collective consciousness. The ultimate goal of Marxian communism is to recover man's potential for acting as a social being, or what Marx called a species being. For Marx, the individual and society are not mutually exclusive. Each person's individuality and creativity can only be expressed fully in association with others. Man is only fulfilled, indeed, he is only truly human if and when his self-directed actions become other-directed and correspond to his innermost identity as a social being. So, how then is communist society to be created? What would Marx's communist society actually look like? At the heart of Marxism is one sentence that defines the moral ideal of communism, which I shall hereafter refer to as the principle, which is from each according to his ability, to each according to his need. According to the new Marxist morality, every man in society will be inspired, and if not inspired, forced, to work according to his ability and then share the unequal fruits of his labor with everyone else according to the unequal needs of all others. In other words, ability is penalized and needs are rewarded. It also means that needs become wants and wants become demands and demands become rights. At first, the productive become slaves to the unproductive, and eventually the productive join the ranks of the unproductive, and then all become slaves. Communism, Marx believed, is a vastly superior form of social organization because it is the only social system capable of actualizing man's true essence. In fact, he was an advocate of communism because he believed it would create nothing less than a new kind of human being, a new man. Communist man would be superior to capitalist man. He would be less selfish and acquisitive, and he would be more altruistic and communal than his capitalist counterpart. Freed from the tyranny of competition and the frantic quest for acquisition, communist man will naturally seek to work with others in order to achieve his individual and collective purposes. More fundamentally, Marx believed that man's natural communal affections and bonds would be recovered once the means of subsistence are distributed on the basis of need rather than greed. The moral ideal of communism is not so much equality as it is sameness. Sameness is absolute equality without diversity. It means all men sharing the same passions, opinions, and interests. Marx sees man as a being whose metaphysical identity is captured in the motto Alexander Dumas attributed to D'Artagnan and his friends in the Three Musketeers. All for one and one for all. This ideal, the ideal itself, that is the communist revolution, which raises this question. How shall this radical sameness be created?